Mr. President, why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him, and it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs, and we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. Some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas, and many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous. And they're finding tremendous waste, really waste, more than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse could be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. But they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending. You've been writing about some of it, frankly, and some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed because he's running, obviously, a big company. It has nothing to do, if there's a conflict, that we won't let him get near it. But he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it. But he has some very good ideas, and we have a lot of other talented people also. We're bringing in the most talented people in the world. By the way, we just unrelated, but we have two of the most talented people in the world, the legendary Rupert Murdoch and Larry Ellison. So they are two legends in business, publishing, and probably every other. Rupert is Larry pretty much in a class by himself, right? I mean, although you may have a couple of bucks more, I don't know, but Rupert is in a class by himself. He's an amazing guy, and Larry is Larry. Larry is one of the most serious players anywhere in the world. So it's an honor to have you. This has nothing to do with you people, but they're here, and I thought it would be appropriate. I'm sure you didn't recognize them. They're all going crazy. They say, "What are they doing here?"
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President, on the tariffs, is there any chance that Canada or China could also get out of the tariffs after you struck a deal with Mexico?
Well, nobody's out with Mexico. We had a great talk with Mexico, and we had President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much, and we've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens from coming in. I think we've lost 200,000 people on average a year for many years, much higher than the 100,000, could be even closer to 300,000. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But we have a very good relationship. I also spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, and we had a good talk in the morning, but I did ask him a couple of questions, like, you know, banks aren't allowed to do business in Canada. Canada is very tough. Canada is very, you know, we're not treated well by Canada, and we have to be treated well. Banks are not, as an example, allowed. Did you know that? That banks, American banks, are not allowed to do business in Canada. Can you believe that? And that's one of many things, and we talked about it, and I think we'll win most of the subjects. But for some reason, a lot of things have been very unfair with Canada. I noticed that in the first term. You deal with people, and after a while you begin to realize, like you learn that Larry Ellison's very tough to do business with, okay? He's a very tough guy. I mean, I'm sure you're shocked to hear that. But Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough to do business with. And we can't let them take advantage of the U.S. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part. They don't take our cars. They make cars, but they basically don't take our cars. And, you know, we don't need, and look, I think we're going to have another good conversation today. We're actually speaking at 3 o'clock again. But We don't need them to make our cars. We don't need them to give us lumber. We don't need them for agricultural products because we have all the agriculture we need. They don't take our agricultural product for the most part, our milk, dairy, etc. A little bit they do, but not much. We take theirs. And as far as cars are concerned, they took in a big percentage, almost 19% of the market. And, I wouldn't mind making our cars in the United States. So we have a problem there. I'd like to make our cars in the U.S. We don't need Canada to make our cars. With that being said, we're going to have another call at 3 o'clock. We had a call this morning. It was a pretty good call, I'd say. So the call with Mexico went very well in the sense that they're very strong now on the border. They're going to put soldiers there. So, actually, they're best military soldiers, and they're going to be at the border, 10,000. That's a lot of soldiers. And they want to protect it also. They don't want people running through Mexico, coming through Mexico to come into our country. So they're going to do that. And then we're going to talk about other things over the next 30 days, we're going to have Scott, Howard, and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, lead the delegation. And we're going to have a big negotiation with Mexico. I'll be involved too, and President Sheinbaum will be involved to see whether or not we can work something out on the tariffs.
What about China?
China will be speaking to China probably over the next 24 hours.
On fentanyl in China, President Trump.
We don't want fentanyl coming into our country. Now, we had another big thing, speaking of China. China's involved with the Panama Canal. They won't be for long. And that's the way it has to be. Marco just got back, as you know. He's in the process of coming back. I guess he's almost back by now. And he had a very long conversation with the leader of Panama, the respected man, and some others, the entire leadership group. And we're trying to work a deal on the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal was given foolishly years ago to, it shouldn't have been happened, years ago to Panama, like Jimmy Carter and the group. We lost 38,000 people building the Panama Canal, like one of the great wonders of the world. It's the biggest job we've ever built, the biggest project we've ever built in this country, dollar-wise and every other way. 38,000 people died, Americans, all men, just about, laborers and construction people. They went to Panama. The mosquito got them. Between mosquito and snakes, we lost 38,000 people. It was the most expensive project ever built by the United States. The biggest, most expensive project we ever built 110 years ago. If you bring it up to now, it would have been the equivalent of $2 trillion. The most expensive we ever built, and we gave it away for $1, okay? We gave it away essentially for nothing. And we either want it back or we're going to get something very strong, or we're going to take it back. And China will be dealt with. And we didn't give that to China. We gave it to Panama. We shouldn't have given it to Panama. But Panama, as you know, has violated the agreement, totally violated the agreement. So that's in the process right now. But they did have a very good meeting with the head of Panama.
In addition to tariffs on China, you say your current thinking about whether China should be forced to pay reparations both for fentanyl deaths and the million COVID
No, I haven't talked about that, but they do have tariffs. Honestly, nobody, the amount of money that was lost and most importantly, the lives lost because of COVID is not something that anybody could ever even imagine. It's probably $60 trillion, and all the countries in the world don't have $60 trillion. The amount of death and the amount of destruction and the amount of money lost is probably $60 trillion. I had it figured by people about 3 months ago. I was just figured out. Nobody knows what the real number is, but it's almost an infinite number. The damage done, but I have not discussed that. What I have discussed is we'll have some good meetings with China. We have meetings planned, and we'll see what happens. But that was just an opening salvo. if we can't make a deal with China, then the tariffs will be very, very substantial. Okay, I'm going to sign this one.
Sir, this is, you've obviously made making America healthy again a key priority of this administration. A key component of that is obviously heart health. This is a ceremonial proclamation declaring the month of February to be National Heart Month.
Okay. I hear we're doing very well with nominations. We'll see, but it looks like we're doing very well with nominations.
Mr. President, have you been involved with calling senators who had some concerns about Tulsi Gabbard or
Yes.
RFK?
Yeah, I've gotten great response. And they want to do what's right, and we've had a good response. I think we'll do well. We have great people like this. We have great people coming in. I think I'd like to say the best ever recruited for government. I think we have the finest people ever recruited for government.
Will it take an active Congress?
And you know what? You're starting to see that because we've done more in 2 weeks than Biden's done in 5 years, 6 years. They could be here between him and Obama. You add it up, okay? We've done more in 2 weeks than they've done in 12 years.
Will it take an active Congress to do away with USAID, or do you believe you have?
I don't know. I don't think so. No, we've not when it comes to fraud. If there's fraud, these people are lunatics. And if it comes to fraud, you wouldn't have an active Congress. And I'm not sure that you would anyway. But we just want to do the right thing. It's something that should have been done a long time ago. It went crazy during the Biden administration. They went totally crazy, what they were doing. And the money they were giving to people that shouldn't be getting it and to agencies and others that shouldn't be getting it, was a shame. So they're tremendous fraud. But we'll be doing a report. We'll be giving you that report at the appropriate time.
You know, in
Yeah.
the first term, though, USAID was something that you liked in some respects.
I love the concept of it. Yeah.
That's the program.
Sure. I love the concept, but they turn out to be radical left lunatics. And the concept of it is good, but it's all about the people.
Mr. President, you said you also want to impose tariffs on the EU. What kind of tariffs are you thinking about?
Well, we have massive deficits with the European Union, massive, like $350 billion, if you can believe it. They don't take our farm product. They don't take our cars. They don't take almost anything, but we take their cars. We have millions of cars coming in, BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen and just so many different cars, and we don't do anything about that. And we don't charge them tariffs. They make it impossible to sell cars in the European Union. They make it very difficult, agricultural product. They actually don't take it. And they have a lot of excuses. Some of them are the pesticides and the different chemicals used. And Bobby Kennedy actually is looking at that very, very seriously, because maybe it's not necessary to use all of that. You know, we want to be the healthiest country, and we're not. We spend more money on food than anybody else in terms of its creation, but we're not the healthiest country. So maybe there is something to the fact that we shouldn't be using so much chemical, and maybe that'll stop. But Bobby Kennedy is the one, because he is not a believer in all of the things we have done, and neither are the Europeans. So we'll see what happens. But they use it as an excuse not to buy our product. And I asked a couple of the leaders, I don't want to use names, but how many Chevrolets or Fords do you see in the middle of Munich? And the answer is none, because they don't take any cars. They don't take anything. So the European has abused the United States for years, and they can't do that. And they want to make a deal. Let me tell you, in all cases, they all want to make deals. There's nobody that doesn't want to make deals. They've been abusers, and they want to make deals. So we'll see about that. But we'll have, I think, some very fair. All we want is a fair deal. And, you know, there's a word, reciprocal. I'd go right now, reciprocal tariffs on everybody, because many of the countries that you feel so horrible about, the way they're being treated by Trump, you're saying, oh, President Trump is so terrible to them. Well, they charge us tariffs. European Union has a VAT tax, which is through the roof, okay? It's a similar thing, similar to a tariff. It's a VAT. And they have it, and it's numbers like you wouldn't believe. And Canada, I told you about the banks, and I told you they charge us. And people don't say that. They don't like to say it. Just like they don't like to say that I opened up the water for California. It's a great thing. It's too bad they didn't do it themselves. I had to do it, and it was not easy. We did it a very rough way, and I didn't like to do it a rough way. We shouldn't have to do it a rough way. But a lot of these countries that we're talking about, they're so-called allies, but they don't treat us well. And just like I got $420 billion, and now it's actually over $600 billion, the Secretary General of NATO came in 2 weeks ago, and he said it was a miracle when President Trump came into NATO. He said it was $636 billion by saying to them, no, you have to pay. And if you don't pay, we're not going to be there for you. Somebody has to say it, and they paid. And it was a large amount of money. And one of the problems we have with the Russia-Ukraine situation is that we wanted to see some equalization, because we're in for close to $300 billion, and they're in for $200 billion less. Why are they in for less? Because Biden never asked them for money. He never said, you got to pay. He never did. All he did is hand out money. So we're talking with them right now, and we're actually working some deals right now. So we have some guarantees and some other things to keep that whole situation really going. I mean, going.
We can hear you. You can hear him, right?
Yep.
Kelly can hear you,
Yes.
too.
Other things.
Yay.
Keep that
We can
whole
hear each other.
situation
All right.
really going. They don't. It's more important for them than it is for us. But they're way below us in terms of money, and they should be paying at least equal. They should really be paying much more than us, but let's say equal to us, and they're billions and billions of dollars below. So we're looking to do a deal with Ukraine where they're going to secure what we're giving them with their rare earth and other things.
Mr. President, the news to deal with Mexico this morning, was that partially related to the market reaction and a criticism from Mr. Murdoch's own newspaper? He called it the dumbest trade war on the editorial page on Saturday.
I'm going to have to talk to him. I've been right over the Wall Street Journal many times, I will tell you. I don't agree with him on some things. No, it's not only is it not dumb, you're going to see. Every single one of those countries is dying to make a deal. You know why? Because they're ripping us off really badly. And the United States is tired of just being ripped off. And that's why we have $36 trillion in debt. We have it for a reason, because we make bad deals with everybody. And we don't allow that anymore. So the Wall Street Journal is wrong, because very simply, every single country that you're writing about right now is dying to make a deal, because the deals they have right now are so good and so good for them and so profitable for them. You didn't know that Canada didn't allow our banks. You didn't know all of these different things. And I think in the end, you're going to see that either very, very substantial tariffs are going to be paid by them, or they're going to make some kind of a deal.
So, sorry, or did Mexican President Sheinbaum?
Did what?
Did you blink this morning?
There was no blinking. No, she's a wonderful woman, but she did agree to 10,000 soldiers on the border. I would say that's a lot. Would you say that's pretty good? 10,000 soldiers on the border?
Sir,
and the 10,000 soldiers are going to keep illegal aliens out, and they're going to keep them out, seriously out, and otherwise they're going to have a big penalty. Mexico's going to be penalized. They're not going to come through Mexico anymore, and they're not going to let the fentanyl come in from China. And China hopefully is going to stop sending us fentanyl. And if they're not, the tariffs are going to go substantially higher.
Sir, just to clarify what you said about Ukraine earlier, the rare earths, is that something you want them to give the rare earths to the United States?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to have security of rare earth. We're putting in hundreds of billions of dollars. They have great rare earth, and I want security of the rare earth. And they're willing to do it.
Sir, you mentioned earlier that you want on Canada, when you talk to Justin Trudeau again, is there anything he can give you at 3 p.m. when you talk again to also
I don't know.
pause,
I don't know.
like you said with Mexico?
I don't know. We have big deficits with Canada, like we do with all countries. I mean, I look at some of the deals made, I say, who the hell made these deals are so bad? But with Canada, I have a talk with him, you maybe know or maybe not. We're going to meet again or talk again at 3 o'clock. Right after my next meeting, and we'll see what happens. I can't tell you what's going to happen.
You mentioned that he could agree to change your mind on the tariff?
Well, we can always, but look, what I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit or South Carolina or any one of our, Tennessee, any one of our states build the cars. They could do it very easily. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. So I say, why are we doing this? Why are we willing to lose between $100 billion and $200 billion a year? We don't need them. As a state, it's different. As a state, it's much different. And there are no tariffs. So I'd love to see that, but some people say that would be a long shot. If people wanted to play the game right, it would be 100% certain that they'd become a state. But a lot of people don't like to play the game because they don't have a threshold of pain. And there would be some pain, but not a lot. The pain would be really there. So we're going to meet again by phone at 3 o'clock, and we'll let you know what
On
happens.
Israel, President Trump, you mentioned Netanyahu.
Coming in tomorrow.
Yes, you've mentioned in the past you're concerned about Israel being too small geographically. Would you support annexation